My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
It is Judd's Hockey Show. Plenty to get to, despite the fact the Wild's been done for, a month and a half now. Stanley Cup Finals around the corner actually start tonight, which is Wednesday when we're recording this. Edmonton and Florida, if that sounds familiar. But we're going to start off with some Wild topics, including one that really caught my eye a couple days ago. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about a restaurant that catches my eye every time I go to it because it's so good. Pass by, I should say. And that is Parlor. I've been talking for a long time now about the one down West 7th from the X, which, of course, is a great stop before the Wild for a pregame. And also, there is the one in the North Loop. But did you know this? If you're in the western suburbs, there is now a new location in Excelsior. That's right. So if you're going out to spend some time out west in Excelsior, a little lake time, make sure that you make some time for our friends at Parlor. It's a supper club and a regular Parlor bar. The chicken sandwich, because the Parlor burger is the first line center, but I've been telling you for quite some time now. The chicken sandwich, very, very good. Craft cocktail menu as well. So Parlor in Excelsior, check it out. All right, so a couple days ago, I am... I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm refreshing, as I often do throughout the day, Jessi Pierce, AJ Fredrickson, the Twitter machine. And I see the news come across. Marcus Johansson coming back. 1 year, $800,000 deal, which is a substantial pay cut for the $2 million that he made last season. I understand that. But here's my starting point, Jessi. And I think I saw you talk about this in a video that you did after recording the Bardown Beauties with Kirsten as well. So I agree completely. But my thing is not, well, I don't want him back, but he's coming back. I know the contract is fine, but where my hang up is what does this mean for playing time for others?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my big thing.
That's my big thing. I don't care for about a year. I don't care about 800,000. Like, that's a drop in the hat, whatever. Not a huge deal. It depends on how you deploy him. My caveat to the whole situation is it cannot be ahead of young players like Liam Ohgren. It cannot be in the top 6. If you need to put him in the bottom 6 once in a while, or even just as a 13th forward, this is all fine. But that's the biggest thing. As we've talked about before, you're not going to get the 2016-17 Marcus Johansson ever again. It's just not going to happen at his age. I will say he was able to stay healthy for the most part this season, which is something that we've always kind of knocked him on. So that's promising. But again, it has nothing to do with bringing him back for the 1 year at 800,000. It has everything to do with how you are going to utilize him. What is his role going to be? And in my opinion, that has to be very minimal. It just has to be. You can't bring him back and say, okay, yep, you're going back in the top 6, or yep, you're going to go in and we're going to keep Liam Ohgren down in Iowa, and that's how this is going to all play out. No, absolutely not. Like, it would be beyond ridiculous. Then I would have some questions. Otherwise, the move itself, meh, fine, whatever. But it'll be very interesting to see come training camp what the plan is for him.
So, Age, off that point, though, how concerned are you? Because, again, John Hines had him as the second line winger. And it's not like, by the way, he had an okay year, but it's not like he was playing great. What's your concern that they are going to take everything that Jessi just said and ignore it? Because that's, again, that is my concern. Like, for everyone who's saying, look at the contract, it's fine, it's a good deal. Only if it's done right.
I am, but I'm also not, because we've seen this team in previous years kind of have these like weird behind the table verbal agreements where it's like, hey, we're going to probably overpay you this year, but then you're going to re-sign with us the following year. I think it was Goligoski who signed like a $5 million 1 year deal. And then he re-signed for like $1 million the final year before he retired. And it was like, okay, then you're kind of in a disposable role. Fingers crossed that this is what it is, but Jesse's exactly right. Like, the term, the money value, like he's making less than % against like the overall cap, but it's still a body. Like, that's still a single body that takes up a single wing spot. And there are people on this roster and in this organization that I think probably deserve the time above him on the line sheet. So if you're going to trot him back out there as this, like, even a top 9 guy, I'm going to think that it's a little egregious. So it's got to be like bottom 6 minutes for sure, but I think it should be 4th line. Like,
I don't see that.
I don't see
4th line. And here's the other thing.
And that's the tough part.
where my head popped off about this is he was given a full no trade.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Really?
let's say things go incredibly wrong. It's sports. Let's say guys get hurt. I don't know. Let's say the team is not good. And you're telling me that you can't dump him off his parts. And I'm not saying that you would get a lot back, but for a guy like that, you could probably get some type of draft pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the deadline. Well,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying first round pick, but I'm saying like some type of draft pick. Why are you giving him that security? Like, this should be a guy who, at the first sign of taking a night or two off, is in the press box. Like, I would use him as an example, the cautionary tale to veterans of, if you don't do what we need, you're going to be sitting. But yet you give him the power of a full no trade clause again. Jess, I am completely lost, not just on this one. I am completely lost with what this league and GMs are doing with giving players that much power when they aren't good enough to, come within an iota of deserving that power.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, it's a business, and I think sometimes that gets lost in the way of some of these contracts, right? Like, we're not actually operating it as a business. We're like, well, we're just going to be nice. We're going to let him hold on to this. He's going to get his one more year. I mean, it's a contract year for Marcus Johansson. We make those jokes all the time. So technically, maybe we do get a really good year from him. But no, it's curious. And to do it before he hits free agency, like, good thing we took care of that, because goodness knows we might have lost him to free agency. Like, I don't know. Just, to me, it's curious. It also makes me wonder if what Bill Guerin is going to do now approaching free agency. Again, this is your insurance player. What else are you looking at? What else is the plan for some of these guys? And maybe, you know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Do they not think Liam Ohgren is ready? Do they not feel that Liam Ohgren is this? I know. I don't
Do they
like
know that
Stave
Liam
either.
Ohgren's going out the door in a trade this summer?
I mean, right. Like, maybe that's the other consideration. Maybe that's the knock to, like, we're going to solidify Marcus Johansson, who can be usable in certain roles, right? Because maybe they're moving different parts too. That's the other portion to this, I think, that needs to be probably considered.
Okay, here's my question, because that's a great point on both sides of it. But here's my question then. If Ogren, well, one, if they assume he's not ready, then he might never be, because like we are now to a point where he has to be, or it's just done. But more importantly too, I like Age's point, because I do see him as a potential trade chip. But are they going to make a trade, include Ogren, and then slot Johansson back in the top 6 because they traded for a set? Like this is a player I don't want to do this dance with. Like, I just don't. Like, I understand, like, both of your points are good points. The not prepared to play yet is really scary, because again, I think if he's not prepared by now, he's probably he's not going to be prepared to play, at least here, which would be incredibly unfortunate. But I don't want to do this dance with players like this. And it's weird too, because Bill Guerin put such a premium on big guys that work hard in his mind. Now, I know Trenton was complete bust, but how many nights do you have to see Johansson mail it in to be like, okay, that's not a guy I really want on my team, much less the top 6. So if this is playing out like that, it's really interesting, because then there is a major difference in, I think, the perception of what players they want to pursue, or that they want on their team, versus the reality. Because Johansson's just about the last guy as far as what he brings, because every once in a while he has these great games, and it's like, oh my God, which to me is an indictment of the rest of his play.
I would say, does that just make it glaringly obvious that there are, like, it creates a very open path to trading a Liam Ohgren potentially? Like, we know Marco Rossi's been up in the air all of the past, like, 2 calendar years. Like, we don't know about that. But if you now move both of those guys out, are you bringing back a winger that maybe has been off the radar? Because us, along with other people in the spectrum, have been like looking at Brock Besser. We've been looking at, I've brought up Nikolai Ehlers. We've looked at all these wingers potentially that they could add. Are they thinking about just trading for a guy, and all of a sudden that's going to be your second line winger or your top line winger with whoever else, and then Marcus Johansson it feels almost like that's just the way that we're kind of steering towards. Like we're getting in a rut where that's the route that they just kind of have to go after. Or, are they confident, Brock Besser is going to be their guy? Even though I feel like the figures that I've seen probably it feel like it might be an overpayment at this point for what people are projecting. But you've been linked to a guy for so long, and that they've talked about wanting to add some sort of winger or some sort of center. But if you're going to re-sign him here, it just feels like, in my mind, you're kind of drifting towards this inevitable parting of ways, maybe with Liam Ohgren, so that, okay, there's no issue here. We know we have our bottom six winger here, and we're going to fluctuate between him on the third and fourth line, or maybe just even in the press box. But now we have our clear path, like there's no designated money to someone else. We can go get a skilled guy that is top six all the time.
But then that goes to the point that you brought up last week, Age, about why do we not have these prospects coming up and showing us what they can do? Marco Rossi is the only guy that this regime has drafted that we've seen in a full-time NHL spot, right? We haven't seen Liam Ohgren. We haven't seen these players who are in the top 10 of the NHL. We've got these prospects. We don't see them. So why do we continue to get rid of them to just go for the older guys, to go for these veteran players who I like Brock Besser, as I said, I like Ehlers as well. But it begs that question, like, what is happening there in the development? What is going on in the prospect pool? Are they not as good as we've been told? And we're not going to get to find out because we don't ever get to see them, right? So it's just kind of like, that's the other curious case. Like, what are we doing here?
It's a very weird thing, too, because, 2 of the last 3 years, the Wild prospect pool has been very highly regarded. I think it's 2 of the last 3. And yet their minor league team in Iowa has been, for the most part, awful. And then the players that are there, though, are like, well, wait till this guy comes up. And then the guy comes up and you're like, or they're like, it's okay. So, yeah, I mean, if Ogren doesn't develop, like if he's traded in a trade for a really good player, I'll get that more so. But let's say he doesn't, let's say, Jess, that your first point is correct, that they're just like, we're not quite sure here. That's on them. At this point, that's on them. I'm tired of blaming the kids. Like, I'm tired of, like, well, he didn't develop. That's all his fault. At some point in time, if you have these prospects that are so highly regarded, I get if 1 or 2 of them, washes out. But Liam Ohgren, and from what we've seen, there's something there. So it would be incredibly frustrating to me if you end up with a situation where it's like, it didn't work out. Like, at some point in time, you have to take the responsibility for that. It can't always be on the player because it's become it will become or can become a trend, I should say.
Well, and I think that's why the question was broached, right, in the postseason conference of, are all the Iowa staff remaining? Because they have struggled. They have, even Jesper Velstead struggling and not able to get that. And yes, you can go back and say, well, you're taking all the players from Iowa. Devin Shore wasn't missed down in Iowa. Devin Shore playing in Minnesota is not the reason the Iowa Wild were not successful, right? And it's concerning because you see how great they are. Like you mentioned, Ryder Ritchie, for instance, having a great time when he's not with Iowa. Liam Ohgren doing great things when they're not with Iowa. So it's maybe something to take a deeper dive and look into what your staff has going or not going, for that matter.
Absolutely. All right. We are going to get to a discussion about a guy that we're talking about continually, Marco Rossi. But there's a different spin now. But before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at Neos Elite Performance, who can help you get back on track. If you were a weekend warrior at one time, a big-time golfer, I don't know, played basketball, and now, you know what, you feel too sore, you feel like you can't, allow me to tell you about Neos, which has cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy designed to get you going again without invasive procedures. No trips to the doctor's office, no trips to a hospital. They're going to come to you. They are going to get you right. They're going to take away that back or knee pain, get you back on the golf course or the basketball court. So stop the suffering. Neos' therapy is designed to reduce pain, restore function, and get you back to doing what you love. Reference our flagship show, Purple Daily, and get $500 off a cellular IV therapy treatment. That's right, $500 off. No surgery, no downtime, just results with Neos Elite Performance. Check them out, neoselite.com, neoselite.com. All right, so I'm guessing that you guys both saw Russo's piece in The Athletic on, I think, over the weekend or on Friday about Bill Guerin talking about Marco Rossi. And I don't know if this was where he talked to more people than Mike, but anyway, I've got a question if you did read that. And my question is this: how big of a corner is Bill Guerin backed into now on Rossi from this sense? One, he's trying to say now that he isn't a champion at the bit to trade him because everybody knows that he is. He's going to be a restricted free agent, which means that there is a deadline for a decision here as far as a trade goes. As far as at some point in time, they're going to have to make a decision here fairly soon on, I think, an exact direction, or Rossi can sign an offer sheet. Now, we can get to that because that might be the route this goes. I don't think so, but it might be. And we do know that the Rossi camp turned down a 5x5 offer in the winter. The Wild recently, I guess, we don't know the particulars on this, you guys, came back with a shorter term offer, to which the Rossi camp again said no. And it sounds like the Rossi's people are after more. But furthermore, the other thing where Billy's backed into a corner here is we just got done with the playoffs where Marco Rossi was demoted to the fourth line, and it was a demotion and barely played. So, Jessi, I'll start with you, but this feels to me like they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle of value here. Because if you're a team dealing with the Wild, are you going to offer the maximum for a player that, quite frankly, you think they're trying to trade, that they demoted, who's coming off a really good year, and they demoted? It feels like the leverage has been lost, and Bill was trying to get it back, but I don't know it's possible at this point to maximize Rossi's value on the trade market.
This is why I said to trade him a year and a half ago, when the value was high. People hated it, but this is what
you
was
guys out
happen.
there, you men out there, you said, "What are you talking about, lady?" She was right about it.
I was right. Told you, there's a disconnect there. There has been a disconnect, and this is where we're at. And you're right. I think as soon as Marco Rossi was put on that fourth line, GMs everywhere were like, oh, Billy doesn't like this kid. Billy's going to get rid of this kid. We are either going to offer sheet and just steal him, or we're going to get him for basically nothing. And because he can't go to arbitration, right? That's the whole deal as well. So
Correct.
It's you'd almost rather have that situation if you are Bill Guerin, but that's not eligible. So yeah, I think you're going to get less of a value for Marco at this point because people can sense the desperation, because you lose him to an offer sheet. That's not what you want either, because Bill Guerin and company obviously do not want to pay him that set. Now, I do want to go back because I think I've seen 8x8 is possibly what Marco Rossi, which seems absolutely insane. Let's just call that. And I think I've seen 7x7 too, which is Matt Boldy money. Now, granted, it's Matt Boldy money different. I think Marco's at 5.5. I wouldn't go over 5.5. I think 5.5 is fair to me. Yes, you went from 40 to 60 points, but I don't know. I don't know, right? 5.5 seems fair.
They offered 5x5. He turned it down, so they were close. I think it's going to be more than that, but I think the discussion here too now has pivoted to what's his value at outside the building as far as what the team can get back. That's where you need to keep the appearance of, we love Marco Rossi, we want to keep him. This is actually where too you don't demote him. Demoting him to the fourth line in the playoffs in the first round. So it wasn't like he was struggling in the Western Conference Finals and you're like, for the good of the team.
Yeah.
You cut yourself off at the knees, because that was there's a lot out there about wanting to trade him, but if he had played on the second or third line in the playoffs, right? Especially the second line, teams would still be like, oh, okay, they value him. So beyond the money now, I think we're at a situation where it's also about what have you done to his value here, and the move against the Golden Knights was sort of the nail in the coffin of good luck getting back what you basically told teams, which is we're done with the kid.
And that's why it's you kind of shooting yourself in the foot here, because if you're now pushing it towards, okay, we can just offer sheet him and that's looking more likely and more likely, I think offer sheet's probably the worst like return they could get. If I'm the GM of the Wild, I don't want picks for a guy. If it's like, given the state of your team, what's a draft pick going to do in the first or second round here for you right now? Yeah, like drafting an 18-year-old does not help you win here in the next 2 years, unless for some reason that pick is going to be the first or second overall. Like you're not going to get that. I would want to trade him, because then you at least have a say, in a sense, as to what you're getting back. Because then if you get the picks, it's like, okay, now you have to try to get the valuation for these picks. Either A, do we try to flip it right away? Hopefully that, we can get something that we want of value, or you wait till draft night, things shake out a certain way, and then the team wants to get a little desperate, trade up for somebody, and then part with somebody else. There's a lot of extra pieces in play, whereas right now, you know what he is like. And that's the thing that I'm struggling for trading for, like a prospect for Marco Rossi. You know exactly what he is, which is right now, he's a guy that played 82 games in the NHL. He scored 60 points in that season. He's grown 20 points off the year prior. Like I understand that he's 5'9", but he looks like a guy that should continue to at least, you're not going to add another 20 points. I don't know if he's
5'9". Let's be clear about that. That's 5'9". No, that kid's like the same height as me.
Hey, hey.
But he's tough. But he does go to the front of the net,
dirty
which I'll
areas.
give him credit for.
They take those measurements with the
paint
skates on, Jessi. Let's relax here.
Just like Tinder, we're going to start blocking out players that don't meet a certain height threshold.
Bill Guerin was in those meetings for Tinder. It was like, yeah, filtering by height. I don't want to trade for anybody that's under 6'1".
Exactly.
But yeah, you know exactly what he is. And now if offer sheet is the way that things are going to go, and you can't either find a deal for him to make his way out, or you can't come to a conclusion with like negotiating a contract, it just takes all the power out of your hands completely. And it's kind of like you're pulling the handle on a slot. Like you may come up with something good. More than likely, though, it's going to be bar, and you just lost a pretty solid 23-year-old second line center.
But you also, so here's the problem too. By demoting him to the fourth line for the playoffs, you killed any chance of him, I think, coming back on a bridge contract.
Yeah.
Because why would he come back to a place that demoted him? Because if they screw with him again on a bridge contract, like he's coming off a good season, like this is the time. So
it still just baffles me that
he's going to make his money off this, or he should make some money off this.
Like Ryan Hartman had a really good playoff, so I'm not going to say that it was like a stupid move, but to put him on the fourth line felt like a stupid move. Third line, I can at least understand. Ryan Hartman was playing like a man possessed the entire postseason that the Wild were a part of. But the fourth line is just so crazy.
The Goudreau line made no sense.
Right.
You put Foligno with two pylons.
Yeah.
Like that's what made no sense. The Hartman thing, yeah, I'm with you. He was playing great, which by the way, I'm also not buying. I'm not now. Well, Ryan Hartman's found the secret sauce. He got threatened. He got threatened. They said, if you screw around, we're gonna bench you, trade you. We'll find a way to dump you. And he came back and played, which again drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely nuts. Oh, I can control myself when I've been threatened and I feel that it's a legitimate threat, but the rest of the time I'm going to go off half cock. Don't even get me started on that one. But the Goudreau thing, it made no sense. Now, just to be clear here too. So I think if Rossi gets an offer sheet, which by the way, offer sheets used to be like dirty pool, but now since what St. Louis did to Edmonton with the two players, I think we might get more on July 1st. If he's offered an offer sheet with an average annual value between 4.68 and 7.02 million dollars, which I think is the most. There's another threshold as well. I don't think that he would get that, but let's say he gets that. The Wild would get a first and third round pick as compensation, which is pretty good. But to Age's point, Jess, it would be in 2026.
Yeah.
So like that, I'm with AJ. That does you no good. Right. Like you're trying to build, like you need to get maximum return if you are going to trade him. But the problem is, if you're not now, you're going to have to swallow hard and long term him at far closer to his terms than your terms.
And give him no protection. because then you can try and move him again. I mean, maybe that's the play here, right? Maybe that's something you look at too, like, hey, we'll wait, we'll move you at deadline, whatever. Not happy about this. I know Philly keeps locking up all the players that I wanted them to make a move for too. They locked up Noah Cates, they locked up Forster. They're just Minnesota's. You said it best, Judd. Minnesota put themselves in this hole as soon as they put Rossi on that fourth line, and it's evident that Rossi's not happy either, too. So teams are also going to see that. Like, he sees himself as a top 6 player. He's not going to get those minutes here. You'll see Marcus Johansson in a top 6 role before you see Marco Rossi in a top 6 role again. That's just the way it's going to play out. So should have listened to me a year ago.
If you're going to do this to him, you're. I'll say it again. You're 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you're 100% right.
That's not news.
Some people love hearing the words like "I love you," and for me, it's "you're 100% right." Like, those are the 3 words that I.
No, but you deserve credit for that, because it was sort of an inflammatory. In all seriousness,
they were so mad about it. They were so mad about it.
At the time, it was a pretty inflammatory thing, and I got what you were saying, but I wasn't on board completely. Yeah. But if you saw the tea leaves that they were going to screw with the kid to the point of like. Yeah. Handicapping themselves now, because it's like, now you're in a predicament. Yeah, you were right. If this was your end game with him, which is, we don't really like your size and we don't care what else you do, then yeah. Now my question would be, why did you draft him?
Right.
As a top 10 pick, right? He was the 9th pick in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, why did you draft him in the first place? I would ask that question. But anyway, yeah. Last thing here. Stanley Cup starts, as I mentioned at the top of the show, tonight, Florida and Edmonton. AJ, we'll start with you on this one. Who do you got?
I'm sticking with the team that I said, I think, last week. I'm going to stick with Edmonton, the Oil. I know they're battling some probably pretty major, like, nagging injuries for, I think McDavid left practice yesterday after talking to a trainer. But Draisaitl, I think we've seen him, especially in his Hart Trophy campaign, like, he can carry the team without him. That being said, this is the Florida Panthers, where they are a team that's like, drop blood in the water, they will swallow you up. Like, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Like, they are a fantastic team. But I think, just looking at it's storybook wise, Edmonton, I think, needs to overcome it. Like, McDavid needs one. I want, for the sake of the only chance of Jessi ever being wrong, I need Connor McDavid, Draisaitl making as much as they are to win a Stanley Cup, so that the next time Bill Guerin comes on, we can just, it's a 60-minute just, Jessi, you just see what happened. No, I'm going to go with that. But also, storybook wise, I think I'm trying to find it here, but it was like, here we go. Gretzky in 1983 lost to the Islanders. The next year they were back for a rematch. They beat the Islanders. Sidney Crosby in 2008 lost to Detroit the next year. They got back to the final against Detroit for a rematch. They won. McDavid in 2024 lost to the Panthers. Now they're back for a rematch. Could we have a little revenge here? So I'm gonna go with the Oilers.
Okay.
No, exactly what Age said. I can't let Bill Guerin win this argument. So obviously I'm cheering for Florida. I can't have Edmonton. No, I just really like the Panthers. Watching them throughout the course of this playoffs, they're fast, they're deep. Paul Maurice has the guys clicking on all cylinders. They made the right moves at deadline. I know Brad Marchand gets a lot of that conversation, but Seth Jones too, right? And I mean,
who's
just added
crappy.
to the already. Yeah, like, it's great. I really like Florida. I think obviously Matthew Tkachuk doing his thing. Sam Bennett, everything about them. I say go Panthers.
Is it not crazy that Seth Jones was allowed to sign that deal with Chicago and then just be on a terrible team? And then he's like, you know what? I know I haven't been the best recently, but also I want to go to a cup contender. Trade me to the Panthers.
Yes, right?
He was an a-hole, though. He was ripping the team. There were people suggesting that the Blackhawks might not trade him because he was such a jerk about it. And he wasn't playing well. And it's like, well, I need to go to a team where it's like, dude, you're not that good now. But Florida, man. Florida, I mean, they just do it right. It's funny that 2 teams in Florida, in the state, have been back-to-back just like model franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Canadians were when I was a kid. Just the model of consistency and the right moves and really well run. And it's 2 teams in Florida, and we're the state of hockey. You know what? They shouldn't be allowed to use that title until they win a cup. No more state of hockey, because we don't got a pro team that's a state of hockey team. We got a pro team that's got one Western Conference Finals on its resume, and that was in 2003. Age was like 5, and Jessi was probably in high school.
Let's just borrow the Wild from it. The Frost have been doing their thing. You see the Gophers kind of make runs every year and then get let down in the Frozen Four. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Just take the state of hockey away from the Wild until they do something.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna go with the Oilers, partially because if they're smart. So Tkachuk is playing, but he's not healthy still because of the. Hold on a second here. 4 Nations. But he's not healthy still. If I'm the Oilers, I'm beating him to a pulp. I'm going to beat him up. I'm going to do everything I can that doesn't get me penalties. Because I think it turned out to be what, Jess, like a groin or a hamstring or something.
I think a groin.
So you could definitely target him. I'm targeting him. Also, a Canadian team has not won a Stanley Cup since 93 when Montreal won one. So, and if nothing else, Corey Perry, unbelievable. You talk about Seth Jones getting out of Chicago. Corey Perry, we still don't know what he did, but it was so egregious that he went to therapy for it. And of course, lands with a team that's now been in back-to-back cups. It's incredible.
Hasn't he been in the finals like 5 years in a row with the different teams that he's been on, or something like that?
He's only won like one, but he has been in the finals a bunch because he was in one with what, Dallas?
Yep.
In the bubble?
Anaheim.
Yeah.
He won it with Dallas in 06-07, his second time ever being in the playoffs. And then he's had 15 years of making it to the postseason and just falling short.
Yeah.
But he's been in the Cup Finals a bunch of that time.
Yeah, he's been there a lot. He's got over 230 games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we've never circled back on that Chicago thing. Like, what happened there?
And
we never did.
How did we not find out? How did that not leak out? What did that dude do to get him? I mean, he literally was let go immediately and went to therapy. But then what I love is the fallout is, okay, now you got to go play with McDavid and Draisaitl. Oh, what a punishment. I can't believe, I'm so sorry I did what I did. Jessi, last thing. Since you are the expert in this one too, what was your thought on the frost protected list? I only asked because the fact that you can protect only 3 players per team is like as punitive as it gets. But you got 2 expansion teams, so the frost protected Taylor Heise, Lee Steckline, and then your pal
Kendall Coyne Schofield.
Yes.
Yeah. Protecting 3 players is insane, right? I mean, you knew that was gonna make those Seattle and Vancouver teams very competitive, which I think is a good thing in the long run for the PWHL. You don't want to have 2 teams come in and struggle when you're trying to continue to grow this game, trying to continue to grow the league. Tough choices. I would have gone with a younger player like Sophia Jakes, or I think I'd mentioned Cava last week when we had talked about it. I think she's a very good player. They get to protect 1 other additional player once they lose 2. So they will be able to protect 4. And there's a certain segmented group that they can protect. They have to be under contract or their rights owned. Otherwise, everybody else, all the free agents and stuff, are willy-nilly. I would have gone a little bit younger. I thought they would protect Lee because I do think she had an incredible playoffs. And I think that doesn't surprise me. But Kendall surprises me a little bit because she hasn't exactly been lighting things up for the Frost. I haven't been super in love with her game, and I would have gone with a younger player, but we'll see what works out.
Do you know if there's a max that they can take from the Frost or like a certain team? Because I know when Seattle and Vegas, it was like, okay, you can take like 1 or you're taking 1 player.
4 or 5.
Okay.
When I kind of broke it down, and there's 2 ways that you can do it. So right now they have an exclusive signing window, which opened this morning and goes until the 8th, and then on the 9th is the expansion draft. And again, once they take 2 players from the Frost, whether it's in the window or in the expansion draft, then the Frost are able to take one of those extra players and protect them. But I want to say it's 4 or 5 from each team that they're able to peruse and get starting this morning at 8:00.
This is kind of, I think, a win for the Frost because it feels like it's super set up for one of the expansion teams to just be a power. Well, both of them actually probably be powerhouses for the next. And I understand that because you want to make them immediately like interested for the market. But also, if one of them wins the cup the next year or even the following, the whole narrative is going to be like, oh, well, all they did was they just stole really good players in the expansion that was weighted towards them. And that makes the Frost look like a much better franchise in the long term. Well, hey, they won it their own way back to back, the only team. And then they had all these players stolen. The other teams got gifted a cup. The Frost were able to do it just on their own, just by building from bricks.
Yeah.
I still don't get why you protect an old player, but that's just me.
Yes.
But I mean, you know what? As an old guy myself, old people are great. I'm not saying they're not. I just don't know I'd protect them in an expansion draft. I wouldn't protect myself, for instance. If there was a podcast expansion draft, I would expose myself to the expansion draft. Let me be very clear about what I'm saying. All right, you guys, fantastic stuff. AJ Judd and the woman on the show who's always right. That, of course, is Jessi Pierce.